Joining me on this special broadcast is Major Mohammad Ashraful Zaman. He's a Bangladesh Army veteran and an analyst, writes extensively in Bangladesh. Vikrant Gupta is managing editor, SportsTak and AajTak. Mohammad Kamru Zaman is a journalist who joins us from Bangladesh. Nikhil Naz is consultant editor sports. India Today. Also with me is Sushant Sareen, senior fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, keeps a hawk eye on all developments in the region. And I want to begin by bringing Major Ashraful Zaman into this conversation. Major, has Bangladesh cut its nose to spite its face for an anti-India electoral rhetoric? Cricket interests in Bangladesh have been sacrificed?
Thank you very much for having me on this show. I won't go that far that it has cut the nose, and it has nothing to do with the election which is to be held on 12th February. I think there are two issues. One is the safety and security of the players plus the spectators who are likely to go from Bangladesh. And the other aspect is a sort of humiliation from the Indian fans, like how Mustafiz was sorted out. So this becomes at times a national pride that has been daunted. I would
Okay,
like
let
to
me bring in Vikrant. Let me bring in Vikrant to respond to this. Vikrant, has the window now closed for Bangladesh? Can they still hope that ICC would reconsider and let them play in Sri Lanka? But has that ship sailed? Is there merit in Bangladesh thinking that it's now an issue of national prestige because Mustafizur was dropped from Kolkata Knight Riders? Their safety is at stake.
They have every right to feel the way they are, but the ship has sailed, Gaurav. In fact, yesterday, when the ICC voted 14-2 in favor of retaining the original schedule, it meant that Bangladesh's demand wasn't met. The Bangladesh Cricket Board chairman, Aminul Islam, requested the ICC then, please allow me 24 hours, let me go back to the government. And the same Aminul Islam today is saying, who is the ICC to give me 24 hours? How the hell could they give me an ultimatum of 24 hours? By the way, in the minutes of the meeting yesterday, Aminul Islam has been quoted as saying, we've got nothing to do with this. It's the government which has taken the decision. So you can choose whatever you want to.
Fair enough. Mohammad Kamru Zaman, we're told players wanted to play. Board was keen to play. But political leaders won in Bangladesh and cricket lost.
Thank you very much. Actually, you know that now there is an interim government. It's not a political government who has taken the decision. Problem is that actually T20 cricket tournament is not only a match, not only a game only. Millions of fans, youth, they are so much interested to watch the T20 tournament all the time. Problem is that Mustafizur Rahman is a very, very favorite cricketer in this country. And when there was demonstrations in India, partly demonstration by some group, and Indian cricket authority actually put a decision on the Kolkata Knight Riders to exclude Mustafiz. So it has turned into a matter of prestige for Bangladesh. And now it has turned into a national prestige also, I think. That's why actually this decision has been taken, but it was nothing happened. If based on a normal group protest, if Indian authority didn't take that type of decision like exclusion of Mustafiz, nothing was happened. So now actually India should resolve it anyway, and they try to regain the trust of Bangladeshi people, because T20 cricket, the World Cup, it means that huge number of people will visit India. They will also watch directly the match. So there is multiple reasons on security ground.
Fair enough, though I must tell you, even if Bangladesh were not to play and Scotland comes in and guide me through this, Nikhil, equally large number of people will come, equally large number of people will watch. There's revenue for India. There's a lot of loss, isn't it, Nikhil, for Bangladesh? What does this mean for Bangladesh cricket? The impact, would it be restricted just to the ICC World T20, or will there be consequences in a longer term for Bangladesh?
Oh, for sure, Gaurav. It's going to be long-term consequences. And even before I illustrate why that is the case, I very politely disagree with the two guests that we had. I'll start with Major Ashraf there. He speaks and he says that this was not a political decision. I beg to differ with that. I'll tell you why. It is not a situation where till now, everything that the Bangladesh Cricket Board has done, they've been very transparent. In fact, we've been quite, singing praises of the Bangladesh Cricket Association, saying that every little conversation that happens between BCB and ICC, they put a press release out and tell you exactly what's happened. The only time that they have not been transparent is what is the conversation that was had between the Bangladesh government and their players. We are here being told and we are made to believe that not a lot of Bangladeshi players were on board with the government's decision not to be playing this particular World Cup. I believe there were 5 players that have even boycotted this particular meeting. What does that tell you? If you were so confident with the players supporting you, you would have been as transparent and would have come out with a statement as to what is the conversation that happened between the Bangladeshi players as well as the government. That's one. Secondly, the other Bangladesh guest that we have, the journalist, he mentions that, listen, at the moment, there is a lot of national pride at play. And I think that is the crux of the matter. So the decision has been taken keeping in mind the national pride, not the merit of the case. Because you go back to Mustafizur was asked not to come to India, not on the basis of security. There was enough sentiment here in the country that did not want, with the attacks on minority in Bangladesh, there was a sizable population in India that did not want a Bangladesh player to be participating in what we call a festival of cricket, which is the IPL. That's not a bilateral series. It is not a multilateral tournament. Not to participate in the festival of cricket, you didn't want an individual player. That wasn't to say we can't provide him security. Of course you can. If security was an issue, BCCI would have been the first board to have said, we cannot have Bangladesh, let's not have Bangladesh here. What does that tell you? It is a question of national pride. So you've miscalculated, you've taken national pride ahead of pragmatism, and that is why you find yourself in a position which can harm Bangladesh cricket
before I
in the
bring in
future.
Sushant, Vikrant also wants to
Just
come
to
in.
add to what Nikhil said and the gentleman said, he said Mustafizur is a national icon and a national pride. Is Saqib-ul Hasan still a national pride? Or do you brand him as a fugitive or India ka dalal, India's agent? That guy has been your most famous cricketer ever. And ever since that coup, Saqib-ul Hasan has not been able to go back to Bangladesh, fearing for his life and his family's life. So how do you say today Mustafizur suits you, but Saqib-ul Hasan and his legacy doesn't suit you?
Very interesting point. Let me quickly bring in Sushant because, Major, I want you to respond to these points. But I also want to bring Sushant into this conversation for the simple reason, was Bangladesh, Sushant, led up the garden path by Pakistan? And will this, in your view, lead to more anti-India atmosphere, a more vicious anti-India atmosphere in Bangladesh? Have we alienated another neighbor, Sushant?
Look, okay, you asked me a couple of things, and let me answer that one by one. One, I think they overplayed their hand. They thought that they can do this kind of grandstanding and get away with it. And I think they received their comeuppance. And I find it very strange for, I think, one of their officials, because this is the reports that I've read, saying that we haven't got any assurance from India, that India did not reach out to us. Did you reach out to India and seek any assurance? Or was India unilaterally supposed to reach out to you and give you any assurance? So you never did it. You were doing your own grandstanding, and your bluff got called. That is one. Second, on this whole Pakistan business, I think once the Bangladeshis overplayed their hand, the Pakistanis, as usual, jumped in and made a complete mamu of these guys. And they must have told them that, we are behind you, we will back you. And I dare the Pakistanis, I dare them. If they have any gairat whatsoever, if they are not completely begairat, they should boycott. Let me see if they do it, if they have the guts. They will not, because they have led these guys up the garden path, and the kind of losses that the Bangladesh board will take because of this boycott is something that they will have to bear those costs. Third, on this whole issue of pride, look, there has to be I can understand individuals jumping up, and having knee-jerk reactions, but institutions and governments must have a very careful, calculated approach. You cannot behave like, somebody on the street and make high policy on the basis of that. And clearly, so they shot themselves in the foot.
You
And
think they've shot
finally,
themselves in the foot? Okay.
finally, let me just make one more point, Gaurav. This whole business that will it create more resentment? It wasn't as though there wasn't already enough resentment being created by the very people who did this grandstanding. They have already been orchestrating an anti-India hatred campaign in Bangladesh. It is visible,
Okay.
it is palpable, right? So
Okay.
if you think just because they haven't come and they boycotted, which is their own decision, this is going to further fuel, just too bad. They have to learn to cope with the realities of life.
Okay, so Major Ashraf,
Yes,
beyond the
sir.
headlines, beyond the elections, Asif Nazrul may have placated this anti-India constituency in Bangladesh. But the Bangladeshi cricket, I don't mean just the cricketers, the contingent, the board, but Bangladesh cricket, they lose experience, they lose money, they lose a friendly board like India. Who will Bangladesh play with in future? Pakistan, and Pakistan alone.
Uh, I think this is not the cutoff line for playing with the other nations. India, to be very honest, the overwhelming feelings in this country is that India and Indian officials and the text and tone with which some of my co-hosts are talking, it is a sort of humiliating tone and taunting language that is not very welcome at under any circumstances, and that is what is happening in the greater spectrum as well. So you see, sometimes some losses are worth accepting. Then,
Including the loss of Saqib? That's worth accepting because Vikrant asked you a very pertinent question, sir.
okay, right. I'll come back to Saqib issue. Saqib is not, he has some legal issues with him. It is not that he is being dealt here as a player. He has some legal issues, so that is being followed through. So that's why he is abroad. So please do not relate. I would appreciate not to relate Saqib issue here. It is not that he is our players they played in India and vice versa. Your team came here, but Saqib case I would appreciate if you kindly do not include here.
No,
So
I'll tell you why Vikrant specifically brought in Saqib. Vikrant, I believe you were just trying to show a mirror to Bangladesh that this is not about cricket. For them, it's who's close to the regime currently in power and not cricket, isn't it, Vikrant?
See, I'm not bothered about what will happen with Bangladesh now. India have been very friendly with them in terms of cricket. Geopolitics, of course, is not my subject. Gaurav, it is yours. It is Sushant's. So I'm not entitled to speak on that. But the fact is, Saqib is not going back to Dhaka because of security reasons. So any country which cannot provide security to one of the national icons cannot just on some silly premise say that players are not going to be safe in India. There's an independent security agency. And I still believe, Major, if when the Mustafizur incident had happened, if the Bangladesh Cricket Board had picked up a phone and spoken to the ICC or the BCCI and told them, listen, the situation is very volatile. Is there a possibility that we may avoid coming to India if our matches could be shifted to Sri Lanka? I am sure, I can give it to you in writing, the ICC may have done that. The BCCI may have done that. But the fact that your sports advisor, Nazrul, he came and said, eat se eat, baja denge, bata denge, we will tell the world. This is not how, and I believe your cricketers, the cricket ecosystem is now saying that if we'd spoken to India in a manner befitting a big board, maybe things would have happened. But you brought your ego to the table. See one thing, and we do not live in an ideal world anymore. Not you, not me, not anybody. Donald Trump goes to Davos and the world gravitates towards them. I think the irony is for the Pakistani Prime Minister and the Israeli Prime Minister to share the same stage.
Okay.
To share the same stage. Let me ask Rashid Latif, let me ask the Pakistani players who wear this badge of Free Palestine, what will they do now? So if Donald Trump
Now
is
they're
the
free
one
Israel.
who's the Pied Piper of world, maybe India is the Pied Piper of cricket.
Okay.
And you know, I find it very silly, Gaurav, if somebody is powerful, famous, has the money, has the clout, he becomes the villain of your story. Not
No, in fact, that was the
necessarily.
narrative for decades. It's just that India now is very clear. There is a certain world order. That world order, in whatever way, wherever, will be followed. But, the point that you raised about Saqib is one part of the story. Major Ashraf, you want to quickly respond because I want to bring in Sushant and Nikhil also into this conversation and Kamruzaman also. But Major, you wanted to respond.
Uh, uh, you see, what has happened, it's unfortunate, but at times we need to accommodate the unfortunate issues. But here it is not the question of India, Pakistan, or any other country. It's the question of Bangladesh and India. Honestly, there is overwhelming sentiment in this country that cricket, definitely India is very important element of ICC. But you have your position, that's fine. But with the we looking down the nation and the players, it does not go well. And about Mustafi's fellow commentator, I would like to consider again the Mustafir issue is, as of now, as I know, he has number of legal issues that he is facing.
No, Saqib
So
does, not Mustafizur.
sorry, Saqib. My
Saqib
apology,
does.
my apology.
Uh-huh.
Saqib, right.
Okay, but
right.
give me a moment. I want to bring in Nikhil into this conversation, but Vikrant, just 30 seconds and both Nikhil and you and Sushant
May I
can
have
come in on this aspect.
one point here, please? May I
Kindly.
have one point, please?
Go on,
And
Major, yeah.
that is, you see, we had cricketing relation. Even if you talk about the interim government, during interim governments, there were Bangladesh went to play in India, and Bangladesh. I can't remember whether there was any match during this time, but things went. But believe you me, the overwhelming sentiment, the Mustafa issues has scarred and it has gone as
Sir,
a
the killing of
national
minorities has also
humiliation.
scarred people in India. Killing of Hindus is completely unacceptable. Killing of minorities is completely unacceptable. Kindly understand that. That also hurts us, but be that as it may. Vikrant Gupta, I want to just quickly bring you and Nikhil onto the aspect of loss of revenue for Bangladesh Cricket Board and players. Have they lost an opportunity to play and rub shoulders with the best teams, the best players in the world? Like Pakistan is a has-been. Will Bangladesh end up being a has-been? Vikrant.
You'll have to ask the players. And I'm sure the players are very, very disappointed. And they know that the cricketers became, they were used like a football, both by the politicians and the Bangladesh Cricket Board. I think in terms of the losses and the sanctions and this and that, I think once the dust clears, you will get to know.
Okay.
But the fact is, other than India and to an extent Australia and England, the rest of the cricket boards are so dependent on the ICC money, Gaurav, that they cannot do without that.
Okay, Nikhil, what kind of a loss financially would this mean for the Bangladesh Cricket Board?
Just one tournament loss is something that they can look at, even though ICC, revenue is the major chunk of the money that they make. But I think it's going to have long-term implications. You think that this is going to end, this T20 World Cup, I think, will go ahead. Scotland will replace Bangladesh. What happens to the Asian Cricket Council? Now, remember, that's another source of revenue that comes to Bangladesh cricket. You are due to have the Asia Cup next year. Will that go ahead? I don't think in a scenario like that, where you've got 3 or 4 major countries that play cricket in Asia at loggerheads, that you'll have that. I don't think that will hurt India as much. India will go on with their bilateral series with IPL. It'll hurt Pakistan. It'll hurt Bangladesh. Let's not forget that, Bangladesh are going to be host of that Asia Cup that I talk about. Whether it'll go ahead, that's where they'll lose the money. In 2031, you have a scenario where Bangladesh, India are co-hosts in the 2031 50-over World Cup. And whether that World Cup will go ahead as co-host, I don't know. So you could have a new world order in cricket as we stand and as we speak with this particular.
Sushant, was there an off-ramp for Bangladesh here? And what would this mean for Asia Cup And beyond this, when it comes to cricket in Asia, clearly, except for ICC, we are not playing Pakistan, given the way they've behaved with the last Asia Cup trophy, still, not with us.
Look, I think Asia Cup was a favor that we were doing to most of the other countries in Asia. Because the bulk of the revenues, almost I think 80 to 90% used to go from India to rest of
Excuse
these.
me.
And frankly, if India was to just walk out of the Asia Cup, they can play between themselves, and for whatever crumbs come their way, they're most welcome to do that. It's a sovereign decision. They can keep their pride and play together. Second, on the World Cup, look, I won't go up to 2030. We don't even know if this world will survive Donald Trump by then or not. So let's not go that far. Let's talk about what will happen in the next couple of months, couple of years. I personally, I've seen some calculations. I don't know the veracity of that, but I would imagine that Bangladesh Cricket Board will probably lose tens of millions of dollars. I don't think that's money they can afford to lose. As far as the off ramp was concerned, there was an off ramp even till yesterday. They could have just swallowed and put some kind of spin on the whole thing. But I think they've been egged on to a point, partly by people in the government, partly by the Pakistanis who are egging them on, that we'll bring support for you. You keep, you dig in your heels, and then left them in the lurch. Right? This is what the Pakistanis have always done. They've done it again, and they've left them in the lurch. I think they had an off ramp even yesterday where they could have said, okay, fine, can you please give us some security guarantees? Can you please reach out to us? They could have picked up the phone, as Vikrant is very correctly saying, not just to move their matches, but to seek security from the government of India. They could have done that. Bangladesh could have picked up a phone and spoken to people in the government of India. Can you assure security to our team and the entire staff which comes, and to the
But then that would have
spectators?
meant a loss of
And
face, and they would have lost elections.
Plus, the issue is never security. We all know that was a smokescreen. The issue is Mustafizur being removed from IPL, after which they don't want to come to India. It's a reciprocal action that they've taken. If they were really concerned about security, they would have idly picked up that phone and asked. But as we said, they've Pakistan themselves have urged them on, taken them up the garden path. We also got to remember, Pakistan has been smarting from the fact that India did not go there for Champions Trophy. So they were waiting for an opportunity to have a situation where yet another country wants to boycott. If Bangladesh had actually put their act together, realizing that Mustafizur is a separate issue, it's an individual issue, you cannot be talking about
And that's
security.
home
I
cricket
think they would have,
entertainment. That's IPL.
bargained
It's
for
not even a
something better.
bilateral series or an international series. Multilateral series. And Mohammad Kamruzaman, Bangladesh now gets relegated to playing perhaps with a has-been like Pakistan and a sidekick of Pakistan. So Pakistan was once a strong team. Now look at how they've been relegated to the dustbin of history. Look at the loss of revenue. Look at the loss of experience for them. And Bangladesh is going down the same path.
Thank you. Actually, the issue of Pakistan is totally a matter of time. The fact is that here you have mentioned that it's a very isolated case. If there was no security concern, then why Mustafizur Rahman was stopped playing with Kolkata Knight Riders? So after one incident, another incident happened. So you didn't think it fully isolated way. And another fact is that here you have already mentioned, and people are saying that in Bangladesh, anti-Indian sentiment is rising, and this is an outcome of that sentiment. Actually, okay, this is on part narrative, and another part we can also say that actually Indian government failed to continue the trust of Bangladeshi people. So there are
No,
that
why should
type
we
of
do it each
reasons.
time?
You should also mention
We've been doing it.
that.
Look,
You should also mention that if
Bangladesh was born courtesy India and Mukti Bahini. Do keep that in mind, sir. Why should we keep pleasing? Why should we be the people pleasers?
Okay.
You have to look after your
Of
interests.
course, Bangladeshi
Sushant Sarin
people,
wants to come in.
Bangladeshi people,
I am
Bangladeshi people
sorry.
very often.
That era is
Bangladeshi
long
people
over of crying Big Brother, Big Brother. I am sorry. This world has moved on.
If all the time take the same issue happened 5 decades back in all cases, it's not fair, I think. So you should also talk on
Sir,
the present context.
in the present
If you say
context,
that,
Sir,
if you
even
said
for
that,
your bread
then,
and butter,
brother,
even for your bread
if
and butter and your
of
electricity and
course,
your
if
revenue,
you say
you
that,
do know
if you
where things stand.
if you
So,
say
you know,
that,
that is that realization now needs to come in. But Sushant Sareen wants to come in, and I'm sorry I'm sounding harsh. That's not the intention. But I will not have anybody talk down to us.
now,
Do keep in mind,
if you
India
take the
doesn't let the United
1970,
States talk down to
if
us.
you bring the
Look, here is the thing.
1971 issue
Look,
all the time,
frankly,
then
if
Bangladeshi
Bangladesh,
people.
can you keep quiet?
Sir, that's your outlook.
Let
But
me just
Sushant wants to come in.
put the record straight. Let me just put the record straight. Number one, if Bangladesh buys something from us and we buy something from them, neither side is doing anybody a favor. It's mutually beneficial, the trade relationship which we have. If we are selling them electricity and they're buying it from us, they're not doing us a favor. They need it, we have it, we sell it, they buy it. So I don't confuse commercial relationship with all this. My problem is with what the gentleman, the journalist gentleman from Bangladesh is saying, that Indians lost the trust of Bangladeshi. I'm sure he's alluding to why we did not interfere in Bangladeshi affairs when Sheikh Hasina was in power. Now, imagine if we had interfered, they would have said, why is India interfering? If we have not interfered, they are saying, why has India not interfered? Now, if we interfere today, because you have this kind of a kleptocratic regime in place, which is letting loose all the Islamist jihadists, you will say, why is India interfering? If we don't interfere and tomorrow all hell breaks loose in Bangladesh, you will say, why did you not interfere? Please make up your mind. Do you want me to interfere? Do you not want me to interfere in your affairs?
No, and I also want to bring in Vikrant on the other aspect that's also being raised, a very pertinent point, Sushant. Vikrant, a plea that Bangladesh took was that cricket is now an Olympic sport. They're accusing India of having that big brother attitude. Does that impact India adversely, when we bid for the Olympics or going ahead, that, look, India is a giant, but then it's at odds with two neighbors now?
Gaurav, that's the point. It's the ICC which has taken the decision, not India. There were 14 votes in favor of not changing the original match schedule. So I don't know why people are just talking about India. If India, they think, like I said, is powerful enough, and that's good on India. And everything in life is not going to revolve around the revenue or the money that you generate. It's also about the way your team is performing.
Okay.
I mean, India has always controlled 70-80% of the world cricket revenue in the 90s as well. But it is now that the Indians are the world beaters. That is why, they assume that power. The fact is, the same plea was given to Bangladesh yesterday.
Yes.
Bangladesh Cricket Board official was told that, listen, cricket will soon become an Olympic sport. And do you expect in Olympics, a team goes to the IOC and says, oh, listen, let's change our group or let's change our match schedule? They don't, they can't. So it is exactly the same plea which was given to them. And now they're turning around and saying that cricket is going to the Olympics.
Yep.
See, there's a very, very serious threat, and Nikhil can possibly identify or confirm there are certain European nations, and Europe controls the football market in the world,
Yep.
who apparently are threatening a boycott of the FIFA World Cup because US is one of the hosts. Do you think FIFA will go begging? No, they won't. Nikhil?
Absolutely.
No, he's absolutely right. And again, going back to that point, it is not a decision taken by the BCCI. If there was merit in the argument that Bangladesh has put forward, I'm sure Australia would have voted in Bangladesh's favor. England may have voted in Bangladesh's favor, but that did not happen. I mean, that's something that we should not lose sight of at the moment. And also, I mean, Bangladesh also has to see a long-term, outlook. They need to have a long-term outlook. You speak about Olympic Games and so on and so forth. Even at the Olympic Games, if a decision is taken by the International Olympic Committee, you have to stand by that. Yeah. At the moment, it is Bangladesh that might have trouble now coming to India. So let's say you have the Commonwealth Games here. If the Commonwealth Board decides that, India cannot hold the Commonwealth Games, that's another matter. But if they decide India is going to have the Commonwealth Games, as it has been decided, now will Bangladesh's stance remain the same? Not coming to India? Will the security concern remain the same, that they will not come to India?
And we'll be tracking this story very closely. I want to thank my guests from Bangladesh and India for joining me.